Imagine a CIA agent sitting behind a two-way mirror, watching two strangers have sex while tripping on LSD he secretly put in their drinks. That's not fiction. That's Operation Midnight Climax. And it was just one piece of a 20-year secret program. The CIA drugged prisoners, mental patients, and random strangers. For 174 days straight in some cases. And when one of their own scientists was about to expose it all, he fell from the 13th floor. Or was he pushed? The year is 1953. The Cold War is at its peak. And the CIA has one fear bigger than the Soviet bomb. Brainwashing. American POWs in Korea came home saying things no American should say. The CIA was terrified. What if the Soviets had figured out how to control the human mind? So the CIA did what any panicked intelligence agency would do. They tried to build a better brainwashing machine first. CIA Director Alan Dulles approved the program on April 13, 1953. He called it MKUltra. To run it, he picked a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. Stutter. Limp. Rejected from the military. But inside the CIA, Gottlieb had absolute power. He bought the world's entire supply of LSD. Every last gram. And then he started handing it out to anyone, anywhere. Hospitals. Prisons. Universities. Brothels. At least 80 institutions took the money. 44 colleges. 12 hospitals. 3 prisons. No questions asked. The goal? A Manchurian candidate. A person who could be programmed to assassinate on command and then forget they ever did it. They used LSD. Mescaline. Heroin. Amphetamines. Hypnosis. Electroshock at 40 times the normal dose. Sensory deprivation tanks. And that was just the official stuff. In Lexington, Kentucky, at a federal prison hospital, a doctor named Harris Isbell gave black inmates LSD every single day. For 174 days straight. The payment? Heroin. They were heroin addicts, and Isbell gave them the drug they craved in exchange for letting him destroy their minds. White patients in the same facility got 8 days of LSD. Black patients? 85 days. Sometimes twice the dosage. When the Senate asked Isbell about ethics in 1975, he said the ethical codes were not so highly developed back then. But prisons and hospitals were one thing. To really test LSD's power, the CIA needed to watch people in their most vulnerable state. So they opened a brothel. 225 Chestnut Street, San Francisco. A nice apartment on Telegraph Hill. CIA-funded prostitutes brought men here. The drinks were free. What the men didn't know, their drinks contained LSD. And behind the walls, CIA agents were watching through two-way mirrors. Writing notes. Recording everything. They called it Operation Midnight Climax. The agents wanted to know, does LSD make a man spill secrets? Does it break his will? Can you control him? The prostitutes were paid $100 per man they brought in. Thousands of men passed through those doors. None of them ever knew. One victim was Wayne Ritchie, a deputy U.S. Marshal. His drink was spiked at a holiday party. He spent the rest of his life trying to figure out what happened to his mind. He only found out in 1999, 42 years later, when he read Sidney Gottlieb's obituary and saw a name he recognized. But the brothels were the tame part. The darkest chapter of MKUltra happened in Canada. Dr. Ewan Cameron, president of the World Psychiatric Association, one of the most respected psychiatrists on Earth, and the CIA's most valuable asset. At McGill University in Montreal, Cameron took CIA money and ran experiments so brutal, he would later be compared to the Nazi doctors he himself helped judge at Nuremberg. He called his technique psychic driving. Patients, mostly women with postpartum depression, were put into drug-induced comas. For 15 days. 30 days. Sometimes 65 days. While unconscious, they received electroshock at 30 to 40 times the standard dose. The goal was to wipe their minds entirely. Total amnesia. A blank slate. Then came the driving. A tape recorder played the same phrase into their ears. Over and over. 500,000 repetitions. 16 hours a day. For weeks. Cameron wasn't trying to cure them. He was trying to erase them. When the patients came out, those who came out, they couldn't walk, couldn't speak, couldn't recognize their own children. A 19-year-old nursing student left the institute sucking her thumb, with no memory of her childhood. The CIA kept funding Cameron until 1960. They got what they wanted, proof that a human mind could be broken down and rebuilt. And then they moved on. But there was one more problem. A man who knew too much. His name was Frank Olson. Frank Olson was a U.S. Army biochemist. One of the CIA's own. A family man. 3 kids. Never missed dinner. On November 19, 1953, Olson attended a CIA retreat at Deep Creek Lake, Maryland. After dinner, Sidney Gottlieb himself spiked the drinks with LSD. Without telling anyone. 20 minutes later, Gottlieb casually announced, "By the way, gentlemen, you have all just ingested LSD." Olson broke. Within days he was paranoid, delusional, unable to sleep. He told his wife he had made a terrible mistake. He threw his wallet and ID into the trash. 9 days later, the CIA flew him to New York. Ostensibly to see a psychiatrist. But the psychiatrist was actually an allergist. Another CIA collaborator. That night, Olson was checked into room 1018A at the Hotel Statler. He shared the room with Robert Lashbrook, the CIA officer who had spiked his drink. At approximately 2:30 a.m. on November 28, Olson crashed through a closed window on the 13th floor. He landed on the sidewalk. Dead. The CIA called it suicide. But nothing about the scene made sense. The window was heavy glass. Closed. Curtains drawn. A radiator sat beneath it. A former prosecutor later said Olson would have to be Superman to go through that window. And then there was the phone call. From room 1018A to the CIA's doctor. Minutes after Olson's body hit the ground. "Well, he's gone. Well, that's too bad." Click. 1994, 41 years later. Olson's body was exhumed. The forensic team found a hematoma on his left temple. Blunt force trauma. Before he went out the window, someone hit him. 1973, Sidney Gottlieb retired. Before he left, he took almost every MKUltra file and fed it into an incinerator. 20 years of records. Burned in a single afternoon. 1994, 41 years later. Olson's body was exhumed. The forensic team found a hematoma on his left temple. Blunt force trauma. Before he went out the window, someone hit him. In December 2024, 70 years after MKUltra began, the US government released 1,200 new documents. And they confirmed pretty much everything. But here is the question that keeps investigators up at night. Gottlieb destroyed the files. But he also destroyed the evidence of what MKUltra actually achieved. What if one of the experiments worked? What if, somewhere, there is a technique that can actually program a human mind? And what if they never stopped using it?